Welcome back to episode 279 of the Guy and Guns podcast. I'm your host, Troy.
And I'm your other host, Doug.
We use this podcast to talk about guy guns and responsible Christian gun owners' interest. On this week's show, we'll be speaking with Travis Fox of Fox Optics about night vision, thermals, and all that good fun stuff that we all wish we had plenty of money to buy.
I know, right?
Well, thank you, everybody. I want to sponsor Firearms Radio Network for putting all these shows out there for you guys to download at your leisure. If you've not checked out other shows of the Firearms Radio Network, please do. And also want to thank Oathkeepers TV and Strike TV for putting our shows out there on all their different platforms that Facebook and Twitter has not shut down yet. So,
right.
They're shutting down every patriotic site. So if we disappear, you guys know where to go. Also want to thank
Crossbreed Holsters. Hey, we've heard us talk about it. If you're carrying a gun on your person, in your vehicle, or your wife has one in a pocketbook, Crossbreed makes a holster for you for just about any gun out there. Go check them out at crossbreedholsters.com. Carry the cross. Also, PowerTac lights. Hey, if you're looking for a headlamp, PowerTac has a light for today. It's one of their specials, the headlamp. It is 50% off, so go check them out. It makes it like $79, and they are bright. So go check our buddies out at powertac.com.
Good deal. Well, we're going to bring on Travis right now. He's sitting here in the green room ready to go.
In the green room.
In the green room. So welcome, Travis. Welcome to the show. We appreciate you coming on. Short notice it was.
Yeah, no problem at all. Good to be here.
Good deal. So Doug's invited you on the show. Doug, I'm going to let you take over. I'm going to work on the comment side.
All right. Well, you do that for a minute then. So everybody knows I picked up a new thermal the other day, and I was doing research on it, trying to figure it out. And I just happened to stumble across videos that Travis does on YouTube and other platforms, but he's got them out there all over the place. But YouTube is where I found it. And he went through my thermal that I bought. And I mean, just did a YouTube video. It showed you how to work it, what all the settings were, how to zero it. I'm like, man, this is awesome. And he said, if you have any questions, feel free to call me. And I did. So I called Travis up and I had some questions for him, and he was very helpful. And Travis, thanks for coming on with us, man. We do appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you guys.
Your instructional videos are right on the money. You know, I was trying to figure out how to zero this thing, and a lot of my buddies have ATN scopes, and I have an ATN also, night vision, but and it's got the one-shot zero, which makes it really nice. And I have a new Pulsar Thermion XM50. And I knew it had the same thing in there, but I couldn't figure out how to get it to exactly do it. And you actually brought it up, and I was watching how you did it. And you actually showed me something on that video that I didn't even know, that it's got a freeze frame option. So once you get back on zero, or you fire your shot when you're in zero mode, you can freeze that frame when you get your crosshairs back on it. And then you can move the gun around. People have problems when they're moving, trying to get the scope dialed up and go over. That takes it completely out of the equation.
Sure. Well, one of the other things that helps with is if you're shooting, a lot of times you're shooting into a backer, like if you have a piece of plywood or something that you're shooting into that will catch that bullet heat, sometimes it won't stay there for very long. So if you can freeze that, it helps keep that there, so that you can maintain that relationship to aim into it.
Yeah, I noticed the first time I zeroed mine in, when I pulled it up there, I could see the bullet hole. I'm like, well, this is going to be fairly easy. So I'm messing with the dials on it, and then I look back in the optic to find the hole again, and it was gone. I was like, well, I wasn't expecting that. So one of the learning curves.
Yeah, that's what, so like at my business, that's one of the things I've kind of identified that's been good for us is in a day and age where it's hard to advertise as a gun-based business, that customer service has been like a really good thing for us in terms of people that buy that type of things tend to run kind of in the same circles and have the same buddies and that. And I tell you, if you treat people right on that, the word of mouth you can earn doing that is you can't buy it as advertising, especially in this day and age.
Exactly. So I wanted, what we had, Joan, we've had we've had our viewers and listeners and stuff come on and ask us questions about thermals versus night vision and stuff. So would you take just a minute and go over the difference in night vision versus the thermal? I think a lot of them know, but just give them a rundown.
Yeah, so I mean, the primary advantage to thermal is obviously going to be a thermal is basically the sensor is working like a bunch of different little thermocouples. Essentially, they're taking that signal in and creating a thermogram. So essentially, they're interpreting the temperature signal in the background and then taking a gradient scale, black to white color scale, and making an image out of that. So without going into a lot of detail, which probably not necessary, is it's making an image out of that temperature signal. So it requires no light at all. So the good benefit of it versus like tube intensified night vision, it gives you the ability to very starkly contrast things based on their temperature. So most of the time when we're using these in the cooler months or of an evening or something where the background temperatures are going to be cooler than the target objects you're looking for. So like, for example, in a white hot gradient, the object you're looking for is going to very starkly stand out against its background. That's a benefit. Another benefit in thermal is going to be you require no light at all. So you're not having to push a light out there and reflect it back off of that subject, or you're not relying on any ambient light.
Right. So I do a lot of hog hunting. And I think when you and I spoke on the phone, I was telling you about it, but hogs can see that infrared light. When you turn that on for night vision, they can see it. And a lot of people disagree with me like that, but when you turn that on, deer and everything else, I don't know if it's the way it hits their eye lens or whatever, but they can actually see that wave coming off of that thing, because you turn it on, they'll throw their head up, and it spooks pigs. And I mean, I killed a bunch with night vision, but that thermal, man, that takes it completely out of the equation. There is nothing to turn on. They don't even know you're there.
Yeah, so thermal is receiving the signal that they're giving off in terms of temperature, so it's not required to have anything reflected at all. I mean, that is obvious. The big obvious advantage to thermal is exactly that, is in terms of being covert, and that it requires no type of light source whatsoever. I mean, basically, the image you'll get middle of the afternoon is the same image you'd get on the darkest night you ever seen.
Yep.
But it is dependent on some things. So like some thermal loading from the preceding day where it's captured some sunlight, on the darker objects, and the lighter objects have reflected is what gives you that temperature differential that makes the image. So I'll give you an example. The last 3 days where I'm at, we've been having rain. It's been very overcast and that. You go out there and I could see a coyote or a deer standing out in the field a mile away, no problem at all. But the background's a little drab because the sun hasn't really affected things the way it normally would. So there's certainly some instances where thermal isn't, some other options can be pretty good, but all in all, it's a pretty good option. I mean, it's a game changer for a lot of guys that like that type of stuff.
Oh, it was for me, I tell you. And let me ask you a question. Do you notice, or is it just me? Did we just lose Travis?
We lost Travis.
Uh-oh. Yeah, he'll come back in here in a second. Yeah. But I was going to ask him when he comes back on. I'll still ask him, but I've noticed with the thermal, it messes with my depth perception a lot, and I can't tell how close something is and how far away it is in that thermal.
Looks like he's coming back. All right,
there he is.
You're back.
Yep. I have no clue. It just all of a sudden popped up and said I was out.
Oh, it's not unusual for us to have that kind of issue.
No. If we can have technical problems, we're going to do it. Hey, so what I was going to ask you, Travis, is, do you notice looking through a thermal, does it mess with your depth perception at all as to how far a target's actually away or where it's located?
Yeah, so to me, things in a thermal have a tendency to look bigger, which I think has some to do with just the radiant heat blooming, but also you'll lose some depth perception. So like that's where you get into some of these being much better than other ones in terms of their ability to get those very small signals out of the background things, because some of them you'll lose, like leaves and twigs and things like that, where they're kind of all basically one shade of color, and what they're relying on is sunlight in order to add temperature signal to them. Creates that gradient. Well, some of that stuff will start to disappear, and that plays with the depth perception. So, some of these models you'll see will have laser rangefinders on them. There's going to be, like in the case of your Thermion, there's going to be a unit that comes out that complements that. So it's called an Axion. That's going to have a rangefinder built right on the side of it, which gives you the ability to scan and have the range right there on it. And that's going to complement that unit really well. And of course, that's going to come in at an extra cost and another gadget to buy, but there are options out there.
Well, I'll tell you what, I was gonna pull mine up here because I was talking about it last week on the show, but this is my hog killing machine. It's got a 6.5 Grendel upper on it, 18-inch, and I have the Thermion XM50 on it, which if I had to do it all over again, Travis, I think I probably would have went with the XQ 38 maybe, because
Sure.
I mean, I love the scope, don't get me wrong, but if you're shooting at 40 or 50 yards with the 5.5 magnification that mine has on it versus the 3 power that I think the XQ 38 has, your field of view is a lot narrower or smaller. So you're not seeing,
Sure.
a lot around you. So if you're trying to track your first shot's fine, but when you're trying to track something that's closer to you, I mean, you're magnified a lot.
Right. That's into as you get into the higher resolution sensors like the XP models, they give you the ability to have high field of view coupled up with a decent amount of magnification. Whereas in the XMs and the XQs, you're trading off some lower cost to go to a lower resolution sensor, but then you got to kind of pick and choose your power ranges based on how you're going to use them. And that's where like an XQ38 will give you a good field of view, but it will kind of cap your top end magnification. Whereas your unit, if it's XM50, you're giving up a lot of field of view to get that high 22x base magnification. So really good for long range, not so good for short range. So
right.
That can be mitigated by going to a higher sensor unit, but then again, the cost of that comes into play. So
one reason I went with the XM50 is, well, the magnification was good, but the micron rating was 12 on the XM50 and it's 17 on the new XQs, but the resolution's better. So it kind of works out kind of the same. It's pretty similar, isn't it?
You're talking the 12, you broke up for a minute, but you're talking 12 versus 17 micron?
Yes.
Yeah, so the 12 micron allows them to run a higher magnification lens at a closer focal length to the sensor, which if you think of that in terms of like burning ants on the concrete with a magnifying glass, like the easiest way to kind of contemplate it is if you went to a higher magnification closer, you'd have a better signal on them. So like you get more information, more pure on the signal or on the sensor with a smaller footprint, which is what that 12 micron does. But to be quite honest with you, the XMs and the 12 micron also went down to 322/40 instead of 384/288 sensor resolution. So I would argue anything they gained in the 12 micron, they lost in the sense cell count. So
right.
Other than being able to run a bigger lens at higher magnification, the benefit was kind of lost. But it's 6 and 1/2 dozen of another. That sense cell, in terms of micron size and the counts, I wouldn't get too wrapped up in that. That's one of them deals where, it's like, that's where honestly, and I'm not touting myself, but that's where a guy like me can help is if you know the units in that and ask, like I'll try to lead somebody as good as I can do. That's what I try to do, believe it or not, in some of the videos. That's what these boards back here are about is like, I'll set 3 or 4 of them up at a time and try to show them actually side by side as best I can, so that guys get a better understanding of some of that. Because sometimes it comes down to where, they say if the picture's worth 1,000 words, it's easier to show it than it is explain it.
Yeah, one of the videos I watched on YouTube, of course, it was right after I bought mine. So, but you had the XQ50, the XP50, and the XM50, and you had them all sitting. I think that's what they were. But you had all 3 of those scopes sitting up beside each other. And it's pretty cool. If you've never seen Travis's video, go check them out at Fox Optics. But he's got all 3 of them set up. And I think you were looking at a barn or something, but you got all of them hooked up to your computer, pulling the video feeds in. And if you turn the board, all of them move at the same time. So it's I mean, it's comparing apples and apples.
Yeah, it's a fancy setup. I don't know if you guys can see that very well, but that's what these are in the back. It's a chunk of 2x12, and I just put some Picatinny rails on there, and then I try to point them all to the same place. And then doing that, by pointing them all to the same place like that, then you can turn around and try to give an equal comparison as possible between the different units that you're trying to show.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I know a couple of my buddies have the Pulsar trails, and I don't know enough about the trail to compare them to the Thermions. But if somebody was trying to get into the thermal world, and ATN's a big one too in the thermal world. A lot of people get those because of the price point on them. Because I think you can pick up like a Thor LT, which doesn't have video record. It does do magnification, but the resolution's a little bit lower. And I mean, they're good to get into. The price point on them is a little over $1,000, and they do work, but you don't get quite the resolution I've seen on the Pulsar.
Yeah, see, they're a 160, 120 sensor versus like yours being a 320, 240. So essentially they're half the resolution, but they're still good. Like I tested that little LT model, and I don't sell the ATN stuff because on a cost for quality basis, I just haven't been real pleased with it. But by the same token, I'm not going to lie to anybody, as I'm a pretty small operator and I got to go where where my margin allows me in terms of inventory. So I have a tendency to be a fan of the Pulsar stuff because on a cost for value and integrity basis, I just always find them to be very, very high. They're a well-known worldwide company that, you're going to get backed up if you have any problems. So it takes a lot of that out. And I mean, but the ATN stuff, I sold ATN in the past and I still sell some accessories, and it's got its place, but it is low end, in terms of price. But they also, like on some of their upper end stuff, they throw, in my opinion, a bit too much gadgetry in it to the point where it gets a bit questionable on the integrity and the reliability of it. And that's what I like about the Pulsar stuff, is it seems like that company has a very high level of integrity when it comes to their quality outputs. And I mean, I don't say that just because I sell it. I sell it because that's what I see in the product. It's not the other way around. I mean, I could sell any of them.
I looked at when I was fixing to buy mine, I was looking at the Thor LT4 and the Pulsar, and I just thought, the bang for the buck, the Pulsar was the better deal. Now, the only thing I don't like about the Pulsar that the ATN does have is the ATN's got like an 18-hour battery life on that thing, which the Pulsar, that's sure. If I had to knock anything on the Pulsar, the battery life on it is a little bit lacking. Unless you go to an external,
right? And that's
hook up a power pack,
right? And that's so. Like I would agree with that, and so Trail addresses that a bit more if a guy wants that really long run life. But you'll also see that, like, that's when we kit them with a nice mount and a couple extra batteries, and that typically is the way we sell them. To kind of want to address that too, I would just tell you is like, that was a product of them people going to their design engineers and saying, hey, build this thing. You're not going to find a more scope-like appearance and functionality in one of those thermals than what you're going to see in that Thermion. And in order to get there, you had to pretty much, I would argue that they did the power system as best as you could do it and have that be a constraint, because that's what you'll notice in like the ATNs. They've got a very wide battery compartment. A lot of your cantilever mounts won't straddle it. So you're very limited on what will actually work with it. Where the Pulsar, it's just straight up, basically it sizes just like a 50 millimeter objective, 30 millimeter tube rifle scope. I mean, it's basically the same thing.
I tell you, I've been happy with it so far. I mean, it looks like a scope. It feels like a regular scope that's on any of my other rifles. And one thing I do like about it is I can put the quick detach on the scope, and it's got profiles set up in it that I can profile up on different guns and go set it up, and I can swap guns by just undoing the mount for it and switch guns and go to the profile that's set up for that gun and be dead on.
Sure. Yeah, so in a Thermion, you can have 5 different gun profiles: A, B, C, D, E. What would it be? F? I don't know. A, B, C, D, E, F. So, and then you have 10 aiming points for each one of those profiles, and that's another thing. Like, so back to your question on the rangefinder, if you do have a way to determine range to target, those 10 aiming points per profile, you can literally in about 1 second. Another cool thing about the pulsar stuff that I always see as a hunter is the intuitiveness of the way their stuff works. So like you can switch those aiming profiles in that quick sidebar menu. It kind of hangs out over there and takes up about 15% of the right side of the screen. It's not intrusive. You don't lose sight of your reticle or your PIP, and you can make those changes without going down into like in the ATN stuff or some of the other manufacturers. You got to go down into a menu, which means losing the whole side of your screen. And so like that's one of the cool things about that particular one. That I don't know if you use it much or not, but that picture in a picture function is cool as all get out, because it allows you to have your widest field of view coupled up with high magnification, 2 reticles sitting there ready to use. And that's one of their kind of trademark features that is extremely, extremely handy.
See, that's one of the things I got to figure out, because I seen it on your video, and I accidentally did it one day on mine, and I couldn't figure out how I did it, and I got out of it.
It's a long press on the plus button.
A long press.
Yeah, if you do a long press on your plus, the little plus button that does your magnification increase. So like if you do short presses, it'll kind of toggle you 2 times, so 5.5, 11, 22, it'll toggle you through.
Yep.
If you do a short press on that, when that first comes up, if you start rolling your encoder, you can also smooth zoom. Like you can go
I can do that.
Step, like in 0.1 units. And then if you do just a long press on that button, it'll bring that PIP up. And that's what activates your PIP window.
All right. Well, that's good to know, because I could not figure out how in the world I did it.
Yeah, it's a slick. Once you figure that one out, that's a pretty slick feature of those. That's probably, of all the features that like guys buy that Pulsar brand on, that I kind of repetitively get guys that will come back and say that's a feature I just will never give up. More often than not, that's kind of one of the favorite features in that device, or that brand of device.
Right. So which one do you like? And I know Pulsar has, they have a little bit cheaper ones than the one that I bought, but I mean, they got a whole line of different things, but which one?
Of course,
which one is
I sell them, so I sell them, and so I'm just not going to lie. I have the good fortune of them all. Obviously, because I'm in the business, I have the good fortune of being a bit spoiled in the sense that I can kind of run what I want. And I will just tell you, I sell more of, and I'm the biggest fan of the XP50 just because of the versatility as a hunter. If you kind of combine the fact that Pulsar's resale values are very, very good, and I know I'm going to get the majority of that money back. So like typically,
we lost him again.
You can't hear me. Cell phones aren't always the best option, but
yeah,
you go with what you got. All right, he's back. All right.
There he is.
I don't think Steven's going to be smarter after this.
Yeah, we got you.
We got some comments on the side. I'm heckling Steven over there. Go ahead. You were saying about the X50? What was it?
XP50.
XP50?
Yeah, the XP50 is my favorite. And again, like I say, that's just the versatility thing that the higher resolution sensor adds. If there was ever an instance where you could have your cake and eat it too, that's it. And that's just because the higher resolution sensor, which obviously comes at a higher cost, allows you to have both that magnification and wide field of view all in one unit.
Yeah. Because it's running what, 640 resolution on it?
Yeah, it's a 640 480. Plus they're running, so to kind of combat, they've got a new model out called XG, which I haven't actually had a chance to take a look at, but the current XP, what they're running is what they'll call an NETD, which has to do with the noise equivalent temperature differentials. It's 40 millikelvin or better, so it's got a very pure signal coming into the sensor, which was Ulyss's way of kind of combating the BAE 12 micron sensor. And arguably, I would say XP50 looks very, very good. Like compared to a lot of guys I talk to running the Trijicon and that, equally as good, if not better, in some background situations. So with that said, I mean, it's just given the cost. So $5,000. I mean, they're 4,999.97, which is not cheap. I understand that, but compared to some other 640, 480 units, the features and the integrity of the device, the company backing it, and all that is actually a relatively high value when you get to looking at that type of stuff. So that's my favorite one. But certainly, I would tell you XQ38, which is the one you mentioned, thinking maybe you would have been happier with. That one's down at $3,300. I sell a pretty good quantity of those too. So, and beyond that, if a guy really wants to get to something inexpensive, then something like these little Sightmark Wraith, which is a near IR, obviously not thermal, but that's a way to get into night vision, and that's where most people start out. And you can start out in something like that, very reliable, really good to use for $500. I mean, much more reasonable than thermal. And arguably, I tell guys that's the place to start. I mean, start out on something like that at $500 if you don't know, and cut your teeth on it. Make sure that you're going to like doing that before you go out and spend that kind of money. And then if it comes back to that, it's like everything else. If you really do thoroughly enjoy doing it, you realize, how much that adds, you'll have no problem later on justifying doing the thermal. But if you're having trouble, don't start there.
Yeah, like my first one that I had the ATN PS22, which was a true night vision clamp on. So, like I see a lot of the other ATN stuff that they have, like, oh crap, what is the, I got the X-Sight. I have an X-Sight 2 or HD, I think it is. And then they got the new one that they have. And it's slipping my mind right now.
Yeah, the 4K Pro. 4K.
Yeah, the 4K Pro. There you go. And, looking through those, if you don't have the hour on at nighttime and you don't have like a lot of light from a moon, you can't see through it. It's digital. You don't see through it. Where that ATN PS22, I didn't have to have hardly any light, and I could see through that thing. And if I turned the IR illuminator on, it was like downtown Chicago or something, lit up.
Sure.
But it worked really good.
The advantage to the CMOS stuff like X-Sight 2 or the Wraith or the Sight, the Sightmark's going to have a new 4K out, or ATN's 4K. The advantage to that CMOS censored stuff is one, the cost, and two, most of that stuff you can switch it from day to night. And the cut filter goes out and you've got full color. So it's much more useful day and night. In the nighttime, the argument is the cost versus the fact that you kind of need to run IR anyway in order to get some eye shine reflection off of most game animals. Otherwise, it's hard to find something in a black and white gradient background. So if I've got to run IR light anyway, the argument becomes, does it really matter if I can save a couple $1,000? Does it matter if I run a little or a lot? Because pigs will get shine. They'll get used to it if you're in too close a proximity or hunting the same ones over and over again. But if you have the good fortune of hunting new ones or moving around quite a bit, and you can keep some distance between you and them, it takes them a while to get skittish on 850, 850 nanometer IR. So there's a lot of guys hunt pigs and coyotes on 850 nanometer, but it's one of those things where certainly thermal will make you more effective. It's just, it comes at a cost.
It does. But hey, once I went to the thermal the first time, I was like, I can't go back now. So I figured if I was going to get one, I won't be the
sure. It's one of the few things I sell. There's very little buyer's remorse.
No,
guys that have been on something else go to it. They could never imagine not having it after that.
I was hunting with a buddy of mine the other night. He's got the Thor LT, excuse me, and he was using it, and there was a rabbit that came out, and it was, I don't know, it was probably 70 yards up through there, and and that's the difference in the thermals, I guess. That old saying, you get what you pay for. You could see it. You knew it was there, and you could tell it was a rabbit. But I looked through it with the pulsar, and I could actually see the rabbit sitting there, and he was rubbing his face with his front paw, and you could see all the hair on him. And I mean, it was like he was just sitting there, just black and white, but you can change colors and stuff too. If you don't like the white hot, you can change it to different things.
Sure.
It makes it really nice.
Yeah, they, like I said, they make a really quality product, but they're all, not everybody is going to start there, obviously, and that's why I kind of mentioned some of the other products. But I will tell you this: the trend is for the guys that become serious about hunting at night is eventually they migrate to thermal. I mean, it's one of those deals where just justifiably the ability to, the detects are just so long that it allows you to be very covert, not have to run the light and all that. It is, it just ends up being kind of the king of the heap in terms of effectiveness.
Yeah, we were out last night actually, and I could see some hogs on the thermal. And they were probably 200, 250 yards out on a gas pipeline, and we could see him. The boy that was hunting, we had to get closer. He was just using iron sights, and we got down within about 100 yards, and I could see him. I zoomed in up on him, no problem. But he just barely could see him, and we wound up just letting him ease off the pipeline and get away from us. But it's amazing how far that thing will reach out and the clarity you get. I mean, I could sit there and watch them rooting and, doing the whole 9 yards, 150, 100 yards, somewhere in that distance. And the clarity is just crazy.
Well, I tell you, you get a really good clear night where you don't have a lot of air moisture and that. Like my boy and I have tested on that XM50, the exact unit you have, and you can get well over a mile detection range on that. Like, you're not going to see what something is, obviously, but you can certainly tell that there's something there.
I was sitting at one of the stands that we hunt is 100 yards from where the corn feeder's at, where we got it baited up for them to bring them in. And I was watching a field mouse run out of the grass. He'd run out there and pick up a piece of corn. He'd run back and eat it. And then he'd run back. And
sure.
I kept watching him all the time. Like, what is that? And then I finally realized it was a little mouse running out there.
Sure. Yeah, that's the mice and rabbits. The first time you take somebody coyote hunting that's never seen a thermal like that, they're just amazed by that, because you get out on a big open field and there's always some mice working out there, or rabbits or a possum or something out there.
Mm-hmm. Coons and everything else. It's amazing.
I'll tell you another one. Oh, you're right. I didn't want to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, this time of year, I'll tell you another one is, so like I run a Helion handheld scanner a lot. And another thing you don't hear a lot of guys talk about, but where thermal is extremely beneficial, is like on scouting in terms of deer. You can go out this time of year with them deer standing out there in the bean field. And I don't care, like where we're at in the Midwest, in our area this year, we've been very fortunate. We didn't have, we've had just about the right amount of rain, and everything's been good for us. A lot of areas I know have hit drought and flooding and that, but we've been fortunate. Our beans are literally about shoulder high this year. We'll get them big whitetails moving out there. You'll get them whitetails moving out there, and so they've only been out of velvet just a little bit. If they even get just so much as a tip of an antler above them beans, you can tell exactly where they're at.
And see them.
It's just, as a scouting tool to kind of get an idea of what's in certain areas and things like that. It's, it's very good there. And then I've got different customers for different uses. Some guys are using them for depredation because they've got, too many of them in areas where they've just got to deal with some of that stuff. And you'd be amazed. It's kind of amazes me when I get to talking to some of the different uses. I have guys that buy these that, they'll do skunk and varmint removal on golf courses in some of these cities or what have you, and they'll run a thermal on a pneumatic air rifle or something. All they do is shoot skunks with the thing. I mean, there's a pile of different uses.
Oh, there is. I mean, it's amazing what you can. It's amazing what you can see at night that you normally just wouldn't know is there. But you were talking a second ago about a handheld scanner that you were using. Which one was that?
I use a Helion, which is so they've got a couple of different in the Pulsar. They have an Axion, a Helion, and then they have an Accolade, which is a binocular setup. Mm-hmm. Personally, I use the Helion just because, to be quite honest with you, I've had mine now as my own demo for 3 years. And at the time, I liked it because it suited me well, because the Helion XP series, you can interchange the lenses on it. So it was kind of a no-brainer for me, because I bought a 28, a 38, and then it came with the 50 lens with it. So now I can interchange the lens sets. And if I have a customer that wants to see something, I can basically set it up and show them whatever unit they want to see how it would perform. But the Helion's a little larger and more tubular shaped. It's kind of more of their workhorse series. The Axion is more the size of like a handheld, about the size of a golf rangefinder, like a small rangefinder, but still getting the same similar detection ranges on that out. I mean, 1,300 yard detect. So pretty good little units.
I use a for scanning with. I have a FLIR.
I got you.
It's one of the older Scouts.
Scout series.
Yeah, it's old. It's an older Scout, but it works good. So, I mean, it's nice. That way you don't have to have a rifle up on your shoulder the whole time looking through and scanning with it.
I had a little Scout 320 there for a while myself, and I absolutely loved that thing. The only drawback I didn't like is I did not like the internal solely self-concealed or contained battery. So, like the Pulsar ones, you have the ability to switch the battery system in them. But other than that, I tell you, ergonomically in that, I liked that little Scout series. The little, like I said, mine was just an original Scout 320, but it was a good little unit.
Yep. I think that's what this one is, but it works great. Well, like you said, you can't swap the battery out. So you either got to carry an external battery pack with you if you get low. But most of the time, if I'm out less than, 6 hours, 7 hours, somewhere there, it'll last me all night for scanning with it.
I got you. See, the one I had, I think I could get maybe 5 hours out of the battery, but maybe it was a different model than what you have.
Yeah. Troy, you got anything you want to throw in?
Do you have a payment plan?
I don't, but I think I take, like as part of our payment processing, we do that PayPal. And honestly, to be quite honest, my wife was just telling me earlier today, we do PayPal, and that PayPal credit every now and then they run a bone like out there if somebody is qualifiable. And I think she told me this morning they're running a thing right now for, I think it's 12 months or something like that. No interest, 12 or 24 months, depending on how you qualify. So there are some options, but I don't typically offer it.
Sure. It's just we joke about the cost of thermals and things like that on here because it is a step up. It's a commitment, But so if you had somebody that really wanted to get into night vision, what would be your first step? You gave a little bit of a hint about that, about picking up a certain type of unit for someone to see if they want to get into it. They think they want to try it out. What would be the first step if they were budget conscious?
Personally, I like the Sightmark Wraith. I mean, I think in terms of ease of use, reliability, it'll get you a couple hundred yards. It's IR dependent, so obviously it's not a thermal, but it would certainly get you the ability to use it night and day, so you get the side benefit of full daytime color. Plus, they're coming in at $500, and we'll get you out to a couple hundred yards just the way it comes out of the box. And then, so for the guy that doesn't really know, am I going to like it? Am I not going to like? I like that unit because I know he's going to get some utility and really like the thing, whether he finds himself using it a lot at night or, even if he doesn't find himself using it a lot at night, he can certainly use it daytime for the recording capabilities or some of that. And the reason I have a tendency to recommend that over the ATN is just, to be quite honest with you, ease of use and reliability. It's just like when I was selling the ATN, like even the HD series, I always kind of jokingly tell guys I might get 7 out of 10 guys that buy one and call and have a lot of questions on how to run it, which I'm not going to lie is part of how I kind of stumbled on, doing the customer service and that being so beneficial to my business. But the sideline of that has been, now that I kind of know that, I have a tendency to prefer simple is better. So that Wraith is a really simple, good device, and it suits most guys as a good place to start. Got your teeth on it, and then once you've done that, then make the decision: do I go up from there?
And on the thermals, I mean, what is Doug make a good decision? Is that the good place to start with Pulsar at that model, or is there, like, if you were if you were trying to afford a thermal, where would you start with that? I mean, we know the night vision is different than thermal.
Yeah, that's a tough one because that's one where honestly you'd be better off to give me a call and we could talk about the scenarios in which you're going to use it and kind of determine it based on that. Because I will tell you, the guy hunts big, great big cornfields here in the Midwest that, like if he's up around, say, the middle part of Iowa where a lot of customers, that is going to turn around in an area where he doesn't have a lot of trees and all of his shots and his detects are going to need to be pretty long. He might really like that XM50 that you have, whereas a guy down in Mississippi that hunts a lot of smaller, shorter fields and that might be way better off to start with an XQ38. But again, it becomes one of those deals where, much like, about everything else in life, you can kind of take care of it all with money. It's like, that's where them top end money, high sensors will actually kind of answer the call all in one unit. But then if you really want to determine it to try to save money, the question is more about how are you're going to use it than just which one would you go with, because there are some guys I'd recommend XQ38, some guys I'd recommend XQ50, and some guys I would recommend XM50. But if you wanted just kind of a general good place, XQ38 remains pretty popular because that 2.5 to 10 power ratio and just kind of cheap cost to still get you all the features in that is probably, like, in terms of versatile but cheap, my favorite. And then from there, like I said, obviously if you can afford it, you can get better versatility to go to the other end and go clear up to the top. But it's, for the guy that is trying to be as cost conscious as possible, that XQ38 is probably a good choice.
Right. So the best answer is that for them to call you and you could help them make the right decision and be the best answer for them. So how they get it?
That's what I'm here for. And I mean, honestly,
So no, I'm serious.
My number.
You go ahead. I do
it a little different than everybody. Yeah, you're right. I do it a little different than everybody else. So, like, if you get on my website, you're going to find my number plastered all over it. I'm not one of these guys who runs a website and you got to really look through all the fine print and that to finally find a number. Same way if I answer questions on YouTube, it's not uncommon for me. I put my cell phone on there and that. I mean, I'm small enough business and trying to be aggressive about it enough and have the good fortune for this to be my sole job, that I feel like that's the least I can do is make myself available to customers and potential customers. So, my number is all over my website. It's toll free. It's 877-806-2977. And I keep that thing forwarded usually from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. Central Time. So, if you call that number, you're not going to get somebody that doesn't know about it. You're going to get me. I mean, and if I don't know, I get stumped every now and then, but that's also my job to find out about it, and I'll try to find out as quick as I can.
Sure. What was that number again? 877?
It's 877-806-2977.
All right, I'm putting that in the.
And then like I say, my.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say my website is foxoptic.com. I think you'd already mentioned that, but
yeah, I think those two. When I actually called Travis to ask him a question, I was actually asking a question about, because I'd already bought the scope, but I was having a problem when I recorded. I couldn't hear anything. There was no volume or anything coming out on an iPhone, and I was just beating my head up against the wall trying to figure this thing out. And come to find out, there's a problem with it using an iPhone. So you got to use, right now you have to use an Android or something to get it down and then send it over to your phone and it works, or you can download it to your computer and that works too. It'll pull it down, the audio and everything works. But man, it was killing me, Travis.
Well, we appreciate you. Go ahead.
Nope, you're all right. I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's just a little bit of a delay. It throws us all off a little bit. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Sure. I really appreciate you guys having me on here. And again, if any of your viewers have any questions at all, that honestly is what I'm here for. Is I want to try to make give people the best customer service experience that they can get, because honestly, that has been the absolute best advertising for me in a day and age where a lot of these social media companies would rather we didn't have any way to advertise or do anything in the hunting industry.
Right.
To advertise than to have somebody, refer you, to be quite honest.
Well, good deal. We appreciate you coming on. Any last things, Doug, before we let Travis go tonight?
Hey, one thing, when I was talking to Travis earlier today, he said that from our show last week, when I was talking about Travis coming on, he said somebody that was listening to the show actually called him and picked up a thermal, I think.
That's true. Yep, and I really appreciate that. Like I said, I think that he just heard that you guys mentioned me and called in, and I really did appreciate that.
Hey, no problem. We're happy to promote, Christian businesses and smaller businesses are just that do good work. Like I said, I enjoyed your videos, and I hope you keep putting them out, and get Pulsar to fix the iPhone recording problem, and we'll be in business.
Sure. They're working on it. But speaking of which, I should probably mention it to you just so you're aware. They did just release a 4.5 firmware upgrade for the XM series. So That is a pretty good image enhancement. You can get the image boost on yours now, which will actually improve your image quality quite a little bit.
Oh, good deal.
If you have any question on how to do that, give me a holler.
All right. I sure will. I appreciate that. So if anybody wants to get a hold of Travis, it is Travis Fox at Fox Optics and foxoptics.com. And again, his phone number is 877-806-2977. And he will answer the phone. I can vouch for that.
Well, I appreciate that.
Well, thanks a lot. We appreciate you coming on, and we may be reaching back out to you again when we get into some more issues.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. God bless you guys, and I appreciate you having me on.
Hey, you too, Travis. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thanks a lot. You too.
Bye-bye.
All right. That was a very informative 45 minutes there.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Man.
Y'all got into some good stuff, man.
He knows his business, man. I tell you, he's very good at it, and he answered questions for me when I was talking to him, and just helped me out a lot.
Yeah, I know where I'm going whenever I hit that lottery, but no, I can't afford to play a lottery. It's too expensive. But
just start saving your lottery money, man. Buy a thermal.
Yeah, that's right. 25 years, I'll be there. No, it'll be good. I've got some things to sell that I'm starting to pull up, and I'm going to have a big yard sale.
There you go.
And I'm going to sell until it hurts really bad, and then I might sell some of my stuff. But the wife, the kids will be crying for a little while, but
you didn't need that.
Listen, you don't need that bed. You can sleep on the floor.
Keep the mattress, but
it's good for your back.
That's it, man.
All right, this week's got activities, Doug. What you been up to?
Let's see. I've been on the God side, Sportsman's Daily Devotional, Hospital Devotional, and I can't remember what we were doing Sunday, but we were getting furniture or something. I can't remember. But I missed our online church service Sunday. But I know. I was like,
Doug, you don't have to go to the confessional box and tell them.
I just did.
I don't know how to tell you how to do them Hail Marys and stuff, but
me neither. But on the gun side, of course, everyday carry. I did go. I got invited out on a dove hunt Monday, and it turned out pretty good. There was three of us that went, and we limited out on our dove, so we did pretty good on that hunt. Let's see, what did a little pig hunt last night, like I was talking about, and didn't get one, but it's coming, and yeah, I'm ready to part one's noggin with this 6.5 and see how it works out. And
gonna lay down some lead, huh?
Yeah. Opening day of bow season this Saturday, and I'm going to get to go to Gatlinburg It's probably the first bow season I've missed in a long time. But me and Wendy are going up and spend a little time with little brother and his wife Penny, and hang out up in Gatlinburg for a few days and just kind of chill and get to socialize with and be around him. I don't get to see John very often.
You ain't miss much.
No, probably not.
Is he on here tonight?
I haven't seen him yet, but it'll only probably. It'll probably take a couple of days. I'll figure out why we haven't seen each other in a long time. No, I'm kidding, John. If you're on here, I'm sorry.
We give John a hard time.
Everybody does.
Yeah.
But that's about it, man. What have you been up to?
I have been, let's see, Daily Bible reading, Church Security Sunday, prayer and fasting show. I've been doing that every day, every weekday. I take off Saturday and Sunday. But we're on, we did episode 98 this morning, so I got 2 left to hit 100. I don't know. It's sort of hit and miss. I have like 2 or 3 usuals, and then I have like new people each week, each show. We'll see how that goes. We'll see. I don't know. Been doing, of course, I put the videos up to reloading, and I set up for 223 over the weekend, but I didn't run any. I never did. I had a bunch of interruptions, and then the rest of the gun side, I just been doing farm stuff. I've been working on tractors and lawnmowers and the skidders. I got it fixed, and then I had some issues with the coupler on the front on the accessory. Was broken. I don't know how they got broken, but the whole coupler locking ring was broke off of it and damaged, and so I had to go pick up a new one of those today. Well, I sent Krista up to pick up. She was going to go to E-Town anyway. So, and you go look for tools, and you don't ever have the tools you need when you start working on something.
Right.
Go to the house and try to find the biggest crescent wrench I could find. Trying to find the biggest, needed like a 1-inch open-end box wrench, and couldn't find it. Finally got it with a pair of vice grips and a old crescent wrench that I found in the tractor toolbox. Finally was able to break it loose, got that off. I don't know, man. It just seems like every time you do something on the farm, you're always working on. You start running, it's broken, or something's leaking, or something's. I'm not surprised by it anymore, and I don't cuss. But I do just look up at the sky sometimes and say, Lord, what did I do wrong, man? No, but that's pretty much my weekly stuff. It wasn't a whole lot of anything. It was a lot of yard mowing, a lot of mowing fences and mowing ditches and picking up trash. Good night, Steve.
Good night.
See you, buddy. But it was a lot of just running around, clean up messes, and then so that's pretty much it. EDC, I'm carrying the Glock 30S, and I got the little bunker buster in here tonight. My little Palmetto State hardened arms, and whatever this handle, I think is a Anderson Industries or something.
Yep.
Handle on it, and then I did pick up something. I ordered Daphne a holster from our friend over at Eclipse Holsters. And when I did, I went ahead and ordered me an AR mag holster so I can clip out my belt. And then I've got an AR mag on my side.
Oh, nice.
So I've got a backup magazine, and I've got a Lancer magazine there loaded up. So it seems to work good. The only problem I've got, and it's not, I don't think it's anything in the manufacturing problem, is that I've got one of those Crossbreed real thick thick horsehide belts, and it won't fit with the material of my pants and that in there. It causes it to squeeze out and gap, and so the whole holster's coming off. So I've asked her if I could get some spacers to go between the clip and the holster itself to give that some more room, or maybe a different type of clip that has more gap in it. So that, and I know that they have a clip that will like clamp on. It's like a, I don't know what you call it. It's like a it sandwiches it on there, and it has like a locking mechanism.
Right.
And maybe we could switch it out and try that and see if it works. But it's just it's a clearance issue, you know. But that's pretty much it for my EDC, and I got the little bunker buster and got the magnet. On some pants it works better than others, but that heavy gun belt I've got, it doesn't work that good with. Somebody is texting me something or sending me a direct message on Twitter. I've never had that happen before. All right, so what was your EDC stuff?
Glock 19 in the Crossbreed Super Tuck Deluxe. Usually I got the Palmetto State Puff 2.0 that I keep around with me that will be traveling this weekend. But he's in the house tonight, and tonight I have the 6.5 out here because I was showing it off on the show a while ago. But anyway, so that's what I got with me.
Good deal. All right. I don't have any feedback that was given permission to put on the show. I don't see you have any in here.
Mm-mm.
So do you have a good joke for us?
It's funny that you mentioned not cussing anymore when you're at the farm working on stuff.
Now, I'm not saying if I get my foot smashed into the grater blade like I did before, like back in the fall, that I might not let something fly. You know, it's not that I want to.
It's just a slippage.
It's just that, you know, the flesh sometimes takes over for a second.
Right.
Go ahead.
So tonight's joke is called the unfair trade, and it'll kind of reference that a little bit. A preacher was making his rounds, all of his parishioners, on his bicycle when he came across a little boy trying to sell a lawnmower. He said, "Well, how much do you want for the mower?" asked the preacher. He said, "I just want enough so I can go out and buy me a new bicycle." After a moment of consideration, the preacher said, "Well, would you take my bike in trade for it?" The little boy asked if he could try it first. And after riding the bike around for a little while, he said, "Mister, you got yourself a deal." So the preacher took the mower and began to try to crank it. He pulled on the cord several times with no response from the mower. The preacher called out to the little boy to come over and said, "I can't get this mower to start." The little boy said, "That's because you have to cuss at it to get it to start." The preacher said, "I'm a minister. I cannot cuss. It has been so long since I've done that, since I've been saved, that I probably don't even remember how to cuss." The little boy looked at him and happily said, "Just keep pulling on that cord. It'll come back to you."
Either the cord will snap off,
Right?
Apart, and put this cord. Yeah, I've had that happen before.
Oh yeah.
Yep. All right. We're going to we're going in the Bible verse. Man, we got people going to be going to bed on us because
I know.
it's getting late. Let's see. We're going to be, where am I at? We're going to be Ephesians 5. Let me bring that up for you guys. Send prayers. What are we sending prayers about?
I don't think he said.
People in Oregon are fighting fires like crazy out there. Pray for them. All over California, pretty much the Northwest is pretty rough. I saw that Lame Deer, the Northern Indian Cheyenne Reservation, where we had a mission trip a few years back, was having fires again. I was there. Our mission trip, while we were there were 3 fires going on at that time. That is something. If you've never been in a western a forest fire or those range fires out there, man, us eastern boys, we don't know nothing about that stuff. I mean, you see clouds of smoke going up 20, 30,000 feet, just black. It's horrible. I mean, there's dust, there's ashes falling everywhere where you're around. I'm like, man, I'm ready to get out of here. But let's get back to the Bible verses. We are praying. I don't know what we're praying for you, Steve, but if you're still with us, let us know. We are going to show the Bible verses. Okay, Ephesians 5. And I've used part of these verses before, but what we're going to work on tonight is a little bit further down here. We're going to start Ephesians 5, verse 4. And I can't read it there because it's too small. Let there be no filthiness, nor foolish talk. That's the problem. It wasn't big enough. There we go. Geriatric sized. Let there be no filthiness, nor foolish talk, nor crude joking, which are out of place. How about that? How does that go with your joke tonight?
I know, right?
But instead, let there be thanksgiving, for you may be sure of this, that everyone who is sexually immoral, impure, is covetous, is an idolater, has no inheritance in the kingdom of Christ and God. Let no one deceive you with empty words, for because of these things the wrath of God comes upon the sons of disobedience. Therefore, do not be partners with them. For at one time you were in darkness, but now you're in light. Walk as children of light, for the fruit of the light is found in all that is good and right and true. And try to discern what is pleasing to the Lord, and take no part in unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them, for it is shameful even to speak the things that they do in secret. But when anything is exposed to the light, it becomes visible. For anything that becomes visible is light. Therefore, it says, awake, O sleeper, arise from the dead, and Christ will shine upon you. So that's where we're going to stop at tonight. So what does all that mean? It means that we are called to a different standard. Once we are saved, we're no longer to be part of darkness, but we're to be walking according to the light. The light is truth. And the truth is what the scriptures say. The Word of God declares what truth is. And we can find that in our Bibles, and we can proclaim that because it stands no matter what, when, and it was written, 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, whatever. It still stands as true today as it was the day it was written. And so that's how you know truth. And the light is exposing truth, right? I mean, you use truth to expose the light of whatever is going on. If someone is doing something that they shouldn't be doing, they try to hide it. That way you know that they're of darkness. And so when you see people trying to hide and do things that are wrong, like rioters in the middle of the night covering their faces up and going and knocking people's windows in, throwing firebombs in, stuff like that, well, you know that those are the fruits of darkness. Those are not the fruits of light. Those are not people who are glorifying God. Those are people who are trying to create discord and disharmony and violence. And so there is a cost to that, and if they repent on this side of death, they will be forgiven. But if they continue on and working in darkness and not being obedient to what God's called them to, then they'll be judged on Judgment Day, and they'll have to stand before their Maker, whether they want to believe He's their Maker or not. Every knee will bow, every tongue will confess that Jesus is Lord, and then they will be judged based upon whether or not they believed in the Son of God, Jesus Christ. And if they didn't, then they will go with the devil and his demons and be thrown to the lake of fire. And that's about all I got to say about that. You want anything other Bible verses you want to talk about tonight?
No, the word is the word. There is no. It just is what it is.
Yep. Take it or leave it, people.
That's right.
It's all there is. You don't get to make a choice. I mean, you can choose to go to hell, but
you can.
I would not think that'd be a wise thing to do. I would, probably choose to do what Good Book says, right? And so thereby you be with your family and friends and people that care about you. You can choose to be as heathen as you want to be, but God doesn't need you. I mean, He would like you to turn, but He's not going to cry over it. He's going, well, I don't know, Jesus cried over Jerusalem. But you have a choice to make, and that's either be a light or be in the darkness and be an enemy of God.
Mm-hmm.
We're born enemies of God, by the way. even as a baby, because of the curse of Adam. Right, we all are under the curse of sin, and apart from accepting Jesus as our Lord and Savior, we have no hope. And that's all we need to talk about that tonight. All right,
Yep.
on to we've done talked to scrolling through my notes here. We done talked and about thermals and night vision, and Travis gave us lots of good information.
He did.
I don't know why this is still in here. I thought I took that out. So, ways you can help us out. We have a Subscribe Star account now. I told you I was going to give you some information about it. I have to jump back here. For whatever reason, it's not. So we have a Guide and Guns Subscribe Star account at the behest of our buddy Tim. And I am looking for the. Why is it so difficult? Profiles, my subscriber messages, and like. Okay. Feed. Okay, so you just search for Guide and Guns, and you'll see our logo on there under Subscribe Star. It's subscribestar.com. I still got the Bible verse sticking up here like I'm an amateur. It's one of them days, Doug. It's one
I
of them
know,
days.
brother.
I'm fasting today, so I'm a little bit scatterbrained as far as I'm getting tired and weak, but and sleepy all of a sudden. So we better move along before I collapse totally. Patches and stickers had a big order from Jason, our buddy Jason. He said he had to get off YouTube that was bad. Well, that's not good to hear. So there's problems over on YouTube apparently. Sorry about that. But Jason placed a nice order today, so we appreciate your last night or this morning, I can't remember which. But we appreciate that for patches and stickers. Look like these, and we've got some other patches and stickers on there as well. And we also want to thank oathkeepers.org. If you don't know anything about Oath Keepers, you can go back in the YouTube of our stuff, and you can find all kinds of times when we talked with Stuart Rhodes, the founder of Oath Keepers. He explains about what it is, what their mission is, what they're planning on doing. They are as active as they've ever been right now with all these riots and burnings and people being threatened and stuff. They're Oath Keepers standing up and standing tall in a lot of different communities right now. If you would like to get involved with Oath Keepers, you can go to oathkeepers.org. And you can find out more about it. They have a raffle over there. You can become a member. If you never served in the military, first responders, anything like that, you can be an associate member, which I am. Doug is an oath keeper because he served in the military for 20 years. And so he just swore an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution. And you can do that as an associate. You can swear to uphold the Constitution as well. Well, thank your buddy Wally over at Sub-MOA Shooting, and he's got a discount code for you guys if you'd like to buy bullets. If you're a reloader like me and shoot rifle bullets, go to submoashooting.com and use the code GodandGuns. And you got the next two.
Also, Axelson Tactical. Hey, if you're looking for a performance high precision rifle, check our buddies out at axelsonusa.com. They make precision rifles, ARs, 308s. They make bolt guns, and they do custom work on pistols. So if you're looking for something really high end that looks really nice, go check our buddies out at axelsonusa.com. When you see something you like, which you probably will, use the promo code God and Guns, and they will give you 10% off for just listening to the show. Excuse me. Also, Palmetto State Armory, they're an affiliate sponsor for us. So we don't have a discount code for them, but stuff that you buy through Palmetto State, if you go through our link, they send us back a little bit of money in return and show us a little love for you guys spending money with us, which we put it right back in the show. So go check our buddies out at Palmetto State Armory.
Cool deal. Armed Citizen of the Week. Who we got?
Armed Citizen of the Week this week comes to us from Roseville, Michigan. Alleged armed robber shot dead by a car wash customer. An alleged armed robber in Roseville, Michigan was shot dead by a car wash customer around 7 p.m. on Tuesday night. WXYZ reports that the attempted robbery occurred at the Wash Point car wash. Malcolm Daly reports that the customer was using a vacuum when allegedly confronted by two men, at least one of whom was armed. The customer was also armed, and shots were exchanged, leaving one of the robbery suspects deceased. Deputy Chief Mitch Berlin said, "It appears that it was a street robbery. We're unsure if it was a carjacking, and there was an exchange of gunfire. One of the suspects was struck and died at the local hospital. The customer was not injured during the exchange of gunfire."
Wow. Crazy world we live in. Best to always be armed.
That's a good one. That's a good theory to have.
Yep. All right, gonna wrap this puppy up. Appreciate you guys coming on and being on the show with us and commenting and asking questions. That we appreciate that and sharing it. We thank you guys for that very much. We thank Travis for coming on the show tonight and giving us lots of information about thermals and night vision. And if you guys want to check that out, make sure you give him a call or check out foxoptics.com.
Yep.
You can send your feedback to Troy at GuidingGunsPodcast.com or
Doug at GuidingGunsPodcast.com.
Please tell your friends about us. Leave us an iTunes review and like us on Facebook at Facebook.com/Guiding Guns Podcast. Please subscribe and follow us on YouTube and get the notifications bell thing. And also you can follow us on Twitter. I'm still there for now. But most of the time I spend over on Parler because I can say where I want to over there and they don't ban me. And then Instagram. We've got an Instagram account for now until they ban that. And then we got a MeWe backup account. And then on Parler, I've got a personal account under my name. And then I've got a Guiding Guns podcast account as well. And Doug is feverishly working on our website. And so now he's got a new computer.
Yes, he does.
Now he's got a new computer, then he's got all kinds of time when he goes to Smokies this weekend to work on that.
That's right. I don't think I cut out one time tonight, did I?
No, I don't think so. No.
Good deal.
I think it worked good. All right. Till next time, Doug, have a blessed week.
Hey, keep your guns close, but keep your Bibles closer.
Good night,
you guys. Have a good night.
Yep, thanks for joining in, and we will talk to you all later. I will be on tomorrow morning with a prayer podcast if you guys want to join me then. I usually pop up about 20, 30 minutes ahead of time and say I'm going to be on. But